Hello and welcome to Cracking the Cryptic. And today I'm going to have a look at the listener from the 21st of September. This was number 4521, as you can see, translated into Spanish by Cagey. Now what I'm not going to do is go through all the clues. Solving of listener clues, I honestly think, is no different from the solving of regular cryptic clues, except that the vocabulary can drift into the back pages of chambers, and I don't mean the back pages, I mean the more obscure words. And certainly some of the techniques might be at the kind of extreme edge. That they're not really very different. They use different abbreviations. Anything in chambers is fair game for the listener. And that's the important thing to remember. Basically, most people solve listeners for the first year or two when they get hooked by them, with chambers right by their side, flicking through it and checking all the definitions. That's fine. I mean, you can get to the stage, as I know, where you don't need it all the time, but the words are a little more recherche, but the clues are the same style. And as I say, we're not going to go through the clues here. I'm going to go through the end game, because this is a pretty lovely puzzle. So, as I say, it's called Translate into Spanish by Cagey. We don't know what that means yet. And the preamble is obviously the most important thing here. Solvers must deduce the positions of grid entries, but bars, which have 180 degrees symmetry except for the top and bottom rows, and entry numbers should not be entered. So we just get given clues with their clue numbers, but we're not told where they go. This is called a carte blanche and is a fairly standard hard way of entering puzzles. So you're going to need to figure out what a lot of the answers are to see how they fit together. 9 clues contain an extra item, it goes on, delimited by spaces, which basically means it looks like a word, that must be removed before solving. So there's 9 extra words or items. In clue order, these items give 2 instructions that solvers must follow to change the grid contents after it is initially filled, and ambiguity is resolved by forming a pact. Well, we can't guess what that last sentence means yet. So what I'm going to do now, I mean, do feel free to have a look at these clues for yourself. You've got an 18 by 10 grid that's entirely blank to fit them in. Here are the clues. It's, as I say, the clues themselves aren't harder, really, than the normal cryptic clues. They just use slightly odder words occasionally, not all the time at all, but occasionally. So now I'm going to show you the completed grid, which looks like this. Basically, that's what you get when you filled it in. Now, you can probably work out that this top row, we can fill it in to make it 1688. And what else is worth noticing in this grid is that if you read across this row here, it's really shouting something at you. Glorious Revolt Union. Now, really, that looks like Glorious Revolution with the T and the U messed up. So, those of you who are history buffs may well know that Britain had a glorious revolution, so-called, in 1688, when James II was deposed. Now, what do the other letters, what do the missing words, the extra words, spell out? Well, I've created the grid in Excel because we're going to need a grid which doesn't have the bars in. It's specifically instructed us not to insert bars and numbers. So here's the grid without bars. 1688 across the top, glorious almost revolution across there. I've got the preamble instructions here again, and here are the extra words, and they say moving whole columns advance 180 years highlight event. And that's 2 instructions according to the preamble. So the 180 is the reason why these weren't called words in the preamble. They were items, and 180 is a single item. So one instruction seems to be moving whole columns, advance 180 years, and the other instruction is highlight event. Well, we already think we've almost seen the glorious revolution. But what's really worth noting now is two things. One is in the grid and one is in reality. So if you advance 180 years from 1688, you do the maths, it comes out as 1868. And in 1868, if you're a really advanced history student, you'll know that rather incredibly, Spain had a glorious revolution. And the thing that actually, there's two things to notice about the grid. One may be obvious to you or may not, is that the letters of 1688 are exactly the same letters as are in 1868. Now that doesn't work with many of these multiples of 10 numbers, but it works with 16, 60, 18 and 80. So we could rearrange these letters 1688 to make them 1868, thus advancing 180 years. The other thing to notice is the row below Glorious Revolution, where the letters seem to be pretty much the same letters. So now what I'm going to do is to move the columns as instructed, moving whole columns, and I'll show you how you have to move those columns. And so let's take out column 1 there, and then we'll fill that space with this whole column. We'll fill that space with this one, and you'll gradually work out what I'm doing. I'm going to move all these 3 along to the next space. Then we've got T needed at the top. We'll move that one in. Then we've got T needed at the end now. Move that in. This H doesn't stay there, it goes there. Well, I've got that gets replaced by this column with an H. The X now clearly has to move to where it's going to be in 68. Let's get the G up to the front. Then we can do that one to there, this one to there, and this one to there. And the beauty of this arrangement is that we've now made 1868 across the top, so we've advanced the year 180 years as required, and now we can highlight the event, and it's fully spelt correctly, Glorious Revolution. And I guess the event that we're highlighting is the Spanish Glorious Revolution, hence the title of the puzzle, Translate into Spanish, rather than the English Glorious Revolution, which has now got all messed up in this row. So, what a magnificent puzzle. The ambiguity that was resolved by forming a pact happens, I think it's here. One of these, the pact is there, and this column has an E there and a U there, and in fact this column has an E there and a U there. So, in practice, they could be swapped around, and they'd still make 1868 and Glorious Revolution, but you wouldn't have the pact anymore. So that ambiguity had to be cleared up in the preamble. I'd kind of expected the pact to be a real pact that applied in Spain or something, but it wouldn't have been a pact, just as the word pact there. What a clever puzzle. Thank you so much to Cagey for creating that. Great fun to solve. The penny drops to kind of spot what was going on, the aha moments were great, and really a brilliant realization of a theme that you would have to be very clever to imagine. Great fun. Hope to see you again on Cracking the Cryptic.